Remembering September 11, 2001. If you never give up, you'll never be able to give back. Chapter 6. I was watching the morning news on television in my apartment on September 11, 2001. When I first saw what happened, the arrest I could see from my window, I had predicted an attack in my book, The America We Deserve, which was published in 2000. But that doesn't mean I wasn't affected by what happened that day. It was an act of depravity and spiritual destruction. After the attack, some people and companies left New York City, but I could never consider moving. I'm a New Yorker, and this is my home. I am, and I know that New Yorkers are resilient, and that New York City would not only survive but thrive, which has happened. Since then, the Trump organization has always had an annual memorial of some sort on September 11th. The first year, we forfeited our annual Trump organization Christmas party in order to give the funds that would normally be used for that event to charity. All of us felt it was the right thing to do, and it was. Since then, we have had a memorial in the lobby and atrium of Donald Trump Tower each year, and I attend, as do other members of the Trump organization. In 2006 and 2007, we had the September concert perform at Trump Tower on 9/11, and it was open to the public. The September concert was founded in 2002 on the first anniversary of 9/11 with the message of peace through music. Haruku Smith, the founder of Veronica Kelly, the vice chairman, have done an amazing job. My son Eric introduces the concert and all of us attend. It is meaningful, so it's a meaningful celebration and a positive response to a day that shouldn't be forgotten. It takes time for us to help coordinate this event to make the space available in our very busy building, but it is worth every minute of it. That's just one example of why it pays to never give up. You'll eventually be in a position to give back. I host many charity events at my golf courses and have been I host many events at my golf courses and have been at the annual Red Cross Ball at Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to redo that whole part. It takes time for us to help coordinate this event to make the space available in our very busy building, but it is worth every minute of it. That's just one example of why it pays to never give up. You will eventually be in a position to give back. I host many charity events at my golf courses and have the annual Red Cross Ball at my Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach. These events don't just happen, they require a lot of planning, and that means time and effort, not to mention money. Owning properties is a lot more than just ownership. It's about making them useful. If you plan to go into real estate to just make money or to feel powerful, that's not enough. If you can see your gains as a way to share, you'll find your work will be much more rewarding and probably more profitable in the long run. Every year we host the Salvation Army in our lobby to kick off the holiday season. This has become a tradition. A band plays, the media is there. I give a brief speech. And the Salvation Army gets some source of recognition it deserves for the great job that they do. They've been doing it for so many years now. This too takes a lot of time to arrange, but we do it every year. Sometimes being a giver will open you up to new talents. Each year, I donate an autographed doodle to the Doodle for a Hunger auction at Tavern on the Green. It's a great event, and contributors have included Sting, Muhammad Ali, Larry King, Al Pacino, Billy Joel, Valentino, Bill Cosby, Paul McCartney, Kirk Douglas, Martina Navratilova, Peter Max, Bette Miller, Jack Nicklaus, Cindy Crawford, and many others distinguished people. It takes me a few minutes to draw something. In my case, it's usually a building or a cityscape or skyscrapers, and then sign my name. But it raises thousands of dollars to help the hungry in New York. The Capuchin Food Pantry's ministry. The auction was an innovative idea that has helped many people, and I don't mind spending a little time for a very good cause. Art may not be my strong point, but the end result is help for those who need it. I can remember a friend who asked me why I had so many charity events at my properties. He seemed perplexed that I would do this because it wasn't really necessary, and he knew how much time it required. I said to him, because I can. Believe me, those are powerful words with an equally powerful feeling to go along with them. Imagine saying that to someone, yourself, because I can. It's a hmm, it's a great feeling, and it makes all the work that went into acquiring and developing those beautiful properties and buildings worth it. We've all seen bad situations that we like to be able to help. Being successful allows you to help in a big way. That's another reason why I keep at it. Knowing you're going to be able to give back more if you succeed is a wonderful incentive to keep going. If you never give up, you'll be able to give back, and that's something to remember. Expect problems, you'll be ready. Expect problems, and you'll be ready when they come. All right, let's do this. Expect expect problems, and you'll be ready when they come. Chapter 7. Trump Tower was my first huge success, and it was always love I have for this building. It makes me feel great that it's now the number 3 tourist destination in New York City. Trump Tower has been famous for so long that most people think it's just always been here, or that it's just appeared one day on the Midtown skyline in New York City. I can tell you that it's not the case. In fact, people are always surprised to hear that I almost named it Tiffany Tower. And there are many other background incidents that made the construction of this landmark building particularly challenging. If you think putting up this tower was a magical occurrence, even for a developer like me, you've got some interesting reading ahead of you. If you enjoy labyrinth stories, especially if you enjoy labyrinth stories, Robert Moses, a great figure in the New York Robert Moses, a great figure in the history of New York City, said something that stayed with me the entire time I was attempting to get Trump Tower started and finished. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Sometimes I felt changing it to say, you can't build a skyscraper without breaking a few heads. Nothing was easy from day one. To begin this saga, it took me almost 3 years even to get a response from the man who controlled the land I wanted to buy. I made calls and wrote letter after letter. I learned a lot about persistence, but I also learned that if you are passionate about something, receiving zero encouragement still won't discourage you. I just plain wouldn't give up. When the site eventually became available, I realized that my letters had helped. The site where I wanted to build Trump Tower was adjacent to Tiffany's. Further down the line, I needed to convince Tiffany's to let me buy their air rights. Their right to build a tall skyscraper on top of their store for 5 million. That would prevent anyone from being able to rip down the Tiffany's building and put up a tower that would block my views. I would be able to build a tower with soaring picture windows versus tiny ones, an aesthetic consideration that was of utmost importance. In order to get the zoning variance I needed from the city of New York, I had to know whether I'd have the air rights. The man in charge of this told me he liked my idea and my price, but that he was going on vacation for a month and would get back to me. In a month's time, I would have done a lot of zoning work as well as architectural work, and if I wasn't sure of getting the air rights, I would be wasting a lot of time and work. Fortunately for me, I was dealing with a real gentleman, Walter Hoving, and he told me that his word was good. Period. In fact, he seemed insulted that I would question his decision and his word. Once in a while, but not often, you run into someone as honorable as that. Now that I had Tiffany's air rights, I needed one more parcel, which was a tiny site along 57th Street, adjacent to Tiffany's. This was required by another New York City zoning regulation. You have to have a minimum of 30 feet of open space, like a rear yard behind any building. Without this piece of property, I would have to cut the rear yard out of the building we'd already designed. It turned out that this piece of property was owned by Leonard Candle, who was honorable as Walter Hoving. However, he didn't want to part with his land. He wasn't a stellar he wasn't a seller and he wouldn't budge. Until one day I found a bonus in the paper. Until one day I found a bonus in the paperwork for my Tiffany deal. It included a clause that gave Tiffany an option to buy the Candle property within a certain time. Because it was adjacent to Tiffany, maybe something could be worked out with Candle after all. By now, I realized what I was trying to do was never going to be easy. Every door required a lot of work just to get it cracked open to begin with. Robert Moses quotes would surface again in my mind, and I would just keep going. It helps to expect problems because then, in a sense, you're ready for them, not thrown off balance. It's good to remind yourself of that daily if necessary. So then I had to go walk back to Walter Hoving and ask him if I could buy his option on Leonard Candle's property as part of my deal with Tiffany's. I knew I had no interest in buying Candle's property anyway. Walter agreed. However, Leonard said the option belonged to Tiffany and was not transferable. He might have been right. It was also possible that if I sued over this question, I might win the right to exercise this option. So I explained the possibility of litigation to Leonard, and in less than half an hour, we managed to make a deal that was good for both of us. I would withdraw my exercise of the option, and Leonard would agree to extend my lease on his site for 20 years to 100 years, which was enough time to make it financeable. Also, in the lease, he eliminated any prohibitions against rezoning. Leonard and I remained friends, and I was allowed to continue on my quest to build Trump Tower. I still didn't have a final contract with Genesco, the company that owned Bonwet Tyler, the store that was sitting on the property where I wanted to build Trump Tower. We'd managed to keep the whole deal completely secret and were expecting to sign contracts in a couple of months. Word began to leak out, and suddenly Genesco was inundated with interested buyers, among them Arab investors with oil money. Not surprisingly, Genesco began to try to get out of the deal. However, I had fortunately gotten a 1 page letter of intent from Jack Hannigan, who had been brought in by Genesco to save them when they were having difficulties. He had been receiving those letters I'd been writing for 3 years. I let Genesco know that I would litigate and hold up the sale of the Bonwet property for years if they didn't honor our deal. I wasn't even sure if the letter would be legally binding, but I could prove to be a nuisance to them if they reneged. Shortly after this, I got a call from the New York Times, who had heard that I was about to make a deal with Genesco to buy the Bonwet building. We had kept this quiet, but I realized I should take a risk, especially considering that Genesco was faltering on their side of the deal. So I told the reporter that we had reached an agreement and I was planning on building a new tower on the Bonwet site. Therefore, the store would be closed, most likely in a few months. The article appeared the next morning, and I was hoping it would put some pressure on Genesco. What happened is something I hadn't counted on. As soon as the article appeared, all of Bonwit's employees went over to Bergdorf, Goodman, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Bloomingdale's to hunt for new jobs. And as a result, Bonwit was having trouble running their store. 5 days later, I had the contract signed with Genesco. We hadn't even gotten close to construction yet. This is a good example of the perseverance you need and some of the obstacles that can arise when you are trying to do something great. Sometimes it's hard, even when you're trying to do something far smaller than a skyscraper. For those of you who think I have this Midas touch and everything comes easily, just remember some of these episodes when you confront your own problems along the way to success, because believe me, you will have problems. It doesn't matter if your name is Trump or not. We all experience these things. Expect it. When I look back, it was a wonderful, exhilarating experience, and every difficult moment was worth it. Frequently asked questions, Chapter 8. I get a ton of mail these days, and a large percentage of it is from people asking for advice. Sometimes entire classrooms will send me their questions. I've decided to include a few of these questions with my responses as well. 1. How do you handle the person who consistently makes the same mistakes over and over? I don't. They're working for someone else now. What is the most important characteristic of a good leader? Discipline. It helps if everyone has it, but if a leader doesn't, he or she won't be one for very long. What are the most important steps for someone who intends to be successful in life? Do your homework. In other words, learn everything you can about what you want. Know what you are up against, and research every aspect of your endeavor. Talk to all the experts you can find. It can't be a hit or miss approach. The odds are already stacked against you, so don't make it any harder on yourself by being negligent. Number 4, what will distinguish the leaders of tomorrow in the real estate industry? Those who have both vision and discipline will succeed. One is useless without the other. With both, you have a chance of becoming a leader, provided you've learned and sharpened your instincts and your experiences. 5. Who are some of the people in history you admire and why? Abraham Lincoln is one, because he was president at the most difficult time in our country's history. He was also self-educated and endured many years of adversity prior to becoming president. Another would be Winston Churchill, a leader at a pivotal time in world history, World War II. He was a great orator who inspired thousands of people with his speeches, and he won the Nobel Prize in Literature for his historical writing. What is your favorite dessert? Ice cream. What do you like about your job? Everything. Every single day is a challenge. Every day is great. Do you go out for lunch? Very rarely. I don't like breaking up my work day. It interferes with my momentum. I prefer to have something to eat at my desk, which takes 5 or 10 minutes. What advice do you give to someone who has or wants to start his own business? Be ready for problems. You'll have them every day. Keep your focus no matter what, and be as big as your daily challenges. Never give up. What if things don't work out the way we want, even if we work really hard? First of all, know that you've got a lot of company. I waited 30 years to see these things happen. Some people have waited longer. Always consider that it's possible you might be doing the wrong thing. So, no matter how hard you work, it might just never happen. Make sure you're doing what's right for you. You have to love doing it, then be tenacious. 11. Do you believe in luck? Yeah, I know I'm lucky. I was also fortunate to have a great role model. I worked around my father from an early age and learned a lot from him. What do you want to be when you were a kid? I wanted to be either a baseball player or a builder. I like to build skyscrapers with my building blocks. I was good enough baseball player to be offered scholarship and had also considered going to USC to study film. But my knowledge and love for real estate led me to Wharton. Where do you get your ideas? The world inspires me, and keeping up with the world events can give you lots of ideas. In this age of technology, we have access to more and more information at a faster pace than ever before, and I find that exciting. I keep an open mind, and that's a good way for ideas to start happening. Do you ever fear that you might fail at something? I have a pretty good track record of success by now, but failure is always a possibility. I am cautious, but not fearful. There's a difference. It's important to be circumspect. Know that the possibility of success is there as well as failure. Risk plays a part in everything that we do. I could get hit by a bus while I am crossing the street. Things happen. Don't let fear interfere with your plans. What do you do on your vacations? I don't take vacations in the sense of planning a trip somewhere. I don't take vacations in the sense of planning a trip somewhere and then going there to rest. I find my work energizing and never feel the need to get away from it. Since I own golf courses, I love to golf and I can have a great time golfing with my while inspecting the course. In the winter, I go down to my Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach on a weekend so I can golf year round. I take weekends more than vacations, which works for me. We like your show, The Apprentice. We were wondering if you like firing people. I don't like firing anyone. Sometimes it's necessary, but I'd rather keep people around me for a long time. I have employees who have been with me for over 30 years. The best working environments is when everyone has the same work ethic and focus on does their best. That's the case with most of my employees, but not always. And if not, then a change has to be made. When you first started out in real estate, what was your main goal? I wanted to be successful on my own terms. My father had been successful in real estate, and I wanted to be successful on my own. I'd always loved beautiful buildings. What was the most surprising thing about The Apprentice to you? My image changed. I became very popular after I started firing people every week. That's funny. What makes you happiest? That's a complex question for being so simple. I'd say several things make me happy: doing well, doing my best, doing a great job, and knowing it's great. Being able to share that accomplishment is good too. I can increase the value of neighborhoods and communities, provide jobs, and I'm in a position to give back in charitable ways. My family is very important to me and always has been. I'm happiest when I'm with them. What was your favorite subject in school? I liked anything to do with mathematics. I excelled in geometry. What is your favorite movie? Citizen Kane. What time do you get up in the morning? 5 a.m. What's the best thing about being rich? Being able to give back is a great feeling, I agree. What's the best piece of advice you can give me? Never give up. You can accomplish more things with that attitude than anything else I can tell you. When the other side expects a duel, offer them a partnership. Chapter 9. I've always been interested in building a golf course in Scotland for two good reasons. Aside from the spectacular beauty of that country, my mother was born there, and Scotland is the birthplace of golf. Golf has been an important part of my life, and needless to say, so was my mother. I spent 5 years reviewing sites and turned down over 200 possibilities for the developments throughout Europe. I was waiting patiently for the right place, and when I saw the links land at Mean Estate, which is in northeast Scotland's Grand Plain region, I knew it was the right place. Meany Estate and Meany House, which dates from the 14th century, is 12 miles north of Aberdeen, which is Scotland's third largest city. More important, I have never seen such a dramatic, unspoiled seaside landscape. It contained sand dunes of immense proportions, 3 miles of spectacular oceanfront, and 1,400 acres in all. It was stunning, and I got excited. I knew that Scotland had a reputation for being a great place when it came to development and business, so I was enthusiastic to begin working there. However, the announcement of my proposed development caused some consternation, and the environmentalists were immediately on guard. In fact, I remember people openly laughing when they saw the scope of what I had planned. This site is of environmental and historical significance to Scotland, and no one thought I would get approvals to go ahead. The environmental statement on Mini Estate alone takes up two 5-inch thick books. The main problem centered around an environmental concern I had never encountered before called geomorphology. It was brought to our attention by the environmental experts and the Scottish National Heritage Organization. Since addressing this subject was a planning board requirement and a major hurdle, we took it very seriously. Hmm. And tried to learn everything that we could. We hired the leading authority on geomorphology, and every detail was seriously considered. I think we surprised everyone by our concern and professional conscience, and our perseverance and integrity was noted by the decision makers involved. Back to geomorphology, which is the study of movement landforms, including the origin, including their origin and evolution of processes that have shaped them over the years. The remarkable sand dunes found on the Mini Estate are a restricted area comprising total of 25 acres of land. They move by natural forces, which can spell disaster for a golf course. We looked at maps from years ago and saw how the entire 25 acres of dunes had literally moved to a different location by nature's force, and so we knew we had the environmental concerns and ours were valid. We did extensive research on this problem and discovered the sand dunes could be stabilized by planting beds of marmorant grass, whose root system allows it to thrive in windswept and harsh climates. This grass protects the sand dunes and also adds another dimension of natural beauty to the landscape. In addition, based on our environmental research, we made other recommendations to improve and protect the local wildlife. The creation of three artificial holds for otters and a written otter protection plan, preparation of a badger protection plan based on new surveys, new habitat creations for redless breeding birds, erection of nest boxes and bat boxes at Mini House, biodiversity target actions to maintain and enhance the palmate newt, black-headed gulls, waddling birds, brown hare, and winch elm, and creation of new slacks plant and a habitat translocation and seed collection to maintain young dune slack habitat. Holy shit, that's a bunch of big words in an in a row. Like that really threw me off, but whatever. We got this. And that's just a partial list. Remember when I mentioned the two 5-inch thick books? I wasn't exaggerating. So if you think things just happen because my name is Donald Trump, let this be a reminder that it doesn't work that way. When we finally submitted the final outline of the plan, when we finally submitted the final outline of the planning application to the Aberdeenshire Council, it addressed both the environmental and business issues of the development. On the economic side, the construction project would create approximately 6,230 jobs in Aberdeenshire and 740 jobs in the rest of Scotland. The ongoing operation would support a total of 1,250 jobs and 1,440 long-term jobs. Overall, the project could create as much as £205 million of economic value for Aberdeenshire and £262 million for Scotland. Those are some of the facts and figures we submitted, and as you can see, our research had to be very detailed. It was no surprise that support was enthusiastic from the local business community. For my part, this will be an expensive development, costing nearly £1 billion, but it's really a labor of love for me. As I write this, a year after the first big environmental issue surfaced, we were going ahead with our vision with a very new impediment. How did it happen? How did we overcome the challenges people thought were insurmountable? People were expecting a duel, and instead, we offered them a partnership. We worked with the Scottish National Heritage and forged a partnership based on our collective concerns. We did a huge amount of background work and an environmental research that took a lot of time and effort on our part, but it was time well spent. Along the way, we broke the barriers and mistrust by being vigilant, open, and honest, and by hiring the best people to get the job done properly. We offered a superior product, and no one could challenge our credibility. The fact that we were environmentally sensitive gave the authorities faith in our ability to do what was best for everyone. Being sympathetic to the rich history and heritage of the area and the overall impact our development might have, as it turned out, was not a sacrifice by any means. It will remain an ongoing concern for centuries to come, I would hope. The Scottish National Heritage is doing their job, and so are we. We are still awaiting approvals for some areas of our development, and George Sorrell from the Trump organization, who I asked to manage the project, has been traveling to Scotland every 2 or 3 weeks to oversee progress. I'll be going over in about 2 weeks, and I've enjoyed every trip I've taken to Scotland. Coincidentally, George's mother was born and raised on the Isles of Lewis, where my mother grew up. Martin Hawtrey is designing the course, and we hope to have it done in 2 years. That's not all. We will have a golf driving range, a golf academy, and a short game practice area. The home of golf deserves this kind of comprehensive attention, and we are designing the course to be the best links of golf course on earth. It will be the perfect site to host an open on the Ryder Cup down the line. In addition to the golf links, which will eventually include two 18-hole links of golf courses, we are building 950 condominiums, 500 houses, a 450 hotel room, a 450 room hotel, 36 golf villas, and accommodations for 400 staff members. This will be a destination for all golf lovers all over the world, and the standard for golf development will reach new plateaus when we are finished. It hasn't been an easy road, but after waiting for 5 determined years, every bit of work has been worth it. And as a result, I'm nearly an expert on geomorphology. Who could ask for anything more? Yeah. Separate yourself from the complaining crowd. You can create your own luck. Chapter 10. You may have heard the saying, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. I agree. I've often heard people talking about how so and so is so lucky, as if to emphasize that they themselves are not lucky. I think what's really happening is complainers aren't working themselves into luck. If you want to be lucky, prepare for something big. You sure it might be more fun to watch movies, but unless you're going into the film industry, it's not the best use of your time. Developing your talents requires work, and work creates luck. Having this attitude towards success is a great way to set yourself on a rewarding course in life. There was a lot of talk for a while about venting your frustrations and anxieties and how it might be healthy to get them off your chest. To a point, yes, but to an exaggerated degree, no. I read an article recently about how complaining without doing anything about it is actually detrimental to physical and mental well being. With the advent of blogging and all the other sorts of opinion gushing out with the advent of blogging and all the other sorts of opinion gushing venues available to everyone now, people are spending way too much time harping on negative themes. The emphasis is out of balance, and the negative focus doesn't help the situation. Don't dwell so much on a problem that isn't. Don't dwell so much on a problem that you've exhausted because yourself before you. Wait, hold on, what? Don't dwell so much on a problem that you're exhausted yourself before you can even entertain a solution. It just doesn't make sense. It takes brain power and energy to think positively and creatively, and to see certain creatively and positively. Going negative is the easy way, the lazy way. Use your brain power to focus on positive and on solutions, and your own mindset will help create your own luck. Shakespeare put it elegantly in a famous quote from Julius Caesar: "The fault is not in our stars, dear Brutus, it is in ourselves." That's a clear message. We are indeed responsible for ourselves. We are responsible for our own luck. What an empowering thought. If you see responsibility as a bum deal, then you are not seeing it for what it really is, a great opportunity. Let's say you're facing some big challenge today. I can tell you right now, you've got a lot of company. What will separate you from the complaining crowd will be how you choose to look at your situation. If you believe you are in control of it, and you are, you will know exactly who to look for when you need help yourself. You could be your greatest discovery yet for success, luck, power, and happiness. When I encountered enormous financial challenges back in the 1990s, I was mature enough to assume responsibility and know that the problem was mine. I knew it would I knew it wouldn't do any good to blame other people. That would be a waste of time, and that's one kind of loss I don't like. Time is something that you cannot replace. If you find yourself slipping into blaming others mode, get out of it quickly. Give luck the chance it needs to play itself out in your life. No one can do it for you. As soon as you discover that luck is yours to create, you'll be thinking and seeing things in a whole new way. So work hard, have fun, and good luck.